Welcome to the Scalability Code, the podcast that helps you get out of the shit show and start growing your business. A few times each month, you'll hear stories and commentary from visionary entrepreneurs, EOS implementers, and fractional COOs about how they've taken businesses to level 10. And now, for your host, Matt Haney.
Hello there, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Scalability Code. I'm your host, Matt Haney. Today, we're joined with Amy Morin. Amy is a fabulous, fantastic EOS implementer based out of the Arizona area, way of Maine and New Hampshire. But Amy, thanks for joining us today on the Scalability Code. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Oh, hey, Matt, thanks for inviting me. I know it's taken us a while to get together on this, but I tell you, being with you for the last 10 minutes, it's worth the wait.
I'm really looking forward to chatting. So as I always do, let's kick this off by learning a little bit about you, your business, how you got to EOS, how you become an implementer. And again, I think going back as far as you want to go helps people understand just what you can do with your dreams. So give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I am probably the perfect example of scalability, right? Where many years ago, co-founded a construction company with my husband, and we grew that from 0 to 40 million and owned that company great. 22 years. Yeah, thanks.
What were you guys, what space were you, general contracting and commercial or doing residential?
Commercial. We were commercial contractors, Southern Maine.
Love it. And what were you guys building?
Grocery stores, drug stores, private academies, auto zones, all that commercial space.
Wow, that's fantastic. And a very difficult place to be a general contractor. The summers are absolutely incredible up there, but I know the winters are incredible, but also very difficult. That must have had some challenges from getting good labor to dealing with pretty harsh conditions, building stuff outdoors.
Absolutely. Yeah, winter conditions are real.
And labor, it's hard to get good labor. I had a client, a prospect who's a general contractor up in upper New York State. And man, he was telling me some of the challenges of getting good labor. Just having people to come perform the trades is very difficult these days. I don't know what it's like when you guys are doing it.
You know, we were really lucky. At the height of our time that we owned it, we had 55 employees, and most of them had been with us pretty much from the beginning. It was just a great run. It really was a great run.
That's so great. Great leadership. So you and your husband were running that company. And did you guys end up selling the company? Did you decide to sort of wind down after a good run? Or what was the transition from general contracting to EOSI?
Yeah, so we did sell.
Good for you. And to a regional partner, private equity, sort of what was that?
We sold it to a strategic partner.
That's awesome. And did you guys get to hang on for a little bit during the transition? Or was it like, take our pipeline, take our backlog, let's go?
Yeah, we said, thank you very much.
Good for you.
Now we're going to go to Kentucky and be ranchers. Yeah.
Good for you. Okay, so wait, now you give me a pivot. You went to Kentucky after that and ended up in Arizona. What brought you to Kentucky and what was that?
I was riding horses at the time. And so Kentucky, if you've ever been around Kentucky at all, it is horse country, and it sure is a fact. I mean, it was the best place to ride, had the time of my life. But then got the itch to become an entrepreneur again, right? I mean, when it's in your blood, you just kind of keep following that.
You can run, but you can't hide from that itch. I've seen it so many times. I'm going to retire. No, you didn't retire. You got busy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then you moved to Arizona and you founded your practice, and that's sort of,
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. We purchased a fly fishing resort in Montana. Was the next entrepreneurial journey.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was a turnaround business. So we didn't start that from scratch. It had been around for 30 years. And you know how we as EOS implementers and in the EOS community go in and really help companies get this clear vision and alignment on that vision? This company was for sale because it was so misaligned on the vision and where they wanted to take the company, to the point, Matt, that they got into a gunfight. I mean, this was a true Western story here.
Where was this? What town and how far rural?
Yeah, Fort Smith, Montana, which is an hour and a half southeast of Billings, Montana.
Wow.
So very rural.
That's fabulous. They did not literally shoot at each other. Are you telling me they did?
No, they did. I'm not kidding. Truth.
That's one way to settle an argument. That's so funny. I hope everyone survived.
They did. They did. Totally fine.
Okay, good. So then how did you get into the EOS world?
Yeah, I was not running these companies in EOS. So I've been an implementer for 5 years. And it was after selling the fly fishing resort is when I found EOS. It was actually in that transition. If we didn't have somebody lined up to buy the fly fishing resort, I would have run it on EOS because I was right at the time when EOS came into my life and I thought, wow, this would be awesome to run this company on. We were for sale and it just didn't seem to make any sense to start running on EOS 6 months in,
Yes, that makes perfect sense. What was the name of the resort? I'm a huge fly fisherman. You don't know this about
Oh,
me,
you are?
but I am going to Bozeman next weekend to fish the Yellowstone. I'm a huge angler.
Yeah, very nice.
Huge
Yeah.
angler.
Cottonwood Camp.
Cottonwood Camp. All right. Is it still around? They still doing it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, I absolutely love the West and I love fishing. Okay, so now you're 5 years into this practice, and are your clients tend to be, first of all, my niche or specialty happens to be construction and trades as well. I love service-based businesses. So do you find yourself working with that particular client base, or are there a variety of different clients? I know everybody is a target in EOS, which is fabulous, but I'd love to know if you've been able to niche into some of the things that have your background and your experience.
I do tend to gravitate towards the construction and the service industry for sure. However, that's not exclusive. I seem to have clients in all different industries,
That's
which I
fabulous.
do enjoy because I just like the different kinds of businesses.
Absolutely. One of the best things about being a fractional integrator that I've enjoyed, like you said, is getting to work with all different types of people, different types of leadership teams, blue collar, white collar, all the colors. But it's great to see the variety of businesses and the applicability of EOS and structure and framework, and especially those entrepreneurial driven businesses where there doesn't tend to be a second in command. We plug right in there and find ourselves aligning alongside the COO, founder, visionary, whatnot. And the construction services business, those businesses, I think the pendulum swings so hard so quickly when you give a little bit of structure. They see a ton of value. So I love that. So are your clients all over the US? Do you tend to do any virtual sessions, or is everything in person in Arizona?
Both. Yep, they're all over the US and I do some virtual and some in person.
That's wonderful. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I've got a few questions I want to ping your way, and I'd love for you to, as we go through these, take a second to, and these are always one of the fun parts about what we do. What ends up happening with most of my EOSI podcasts is that the EOSI will go back and look into the most recent session they've had, and they tend to bring up subject matter around their most recent session, which is fabulous. But I would encourage you to think back a little through some of the other clients or some of the businesses experiences that you've had along the way to just recall an example or scenario. And I'll do the same. I'll jump in and interject on some of these questions and give you some background. One of the first things that is a very vague, open-ended question, but it's like trying to come up and recall a story or two about what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen in the session room or that you've helped navigate clients around. And I'll give you an example to let your brain start thinking about what that looks like. One of the biggest challenges that I had with a client was post-COVID. We were coming out of COVID. They're a furniture distribution business selling furniture into office buildings. You can imagine their business took a huge decline during COVID. And the biggest challenge that they had to do was that they had to reorganize and restructure a 35-person sales team down to a really core operating services business that had just the right amount of salespeople, which required us to, do an RIF or RIF, reduction of workforce. And it was incredibly challenging and complicated for everyone involved because you're going through the process of letting people go during a really tough time and altering their lives. So that always sticks with me as an example that I tell folks, because big challenges could be growth, big challenges could be recession, etc.
When you were talking about that, right, it's not just about dealing with the business side, it's the emotional and personal side. That is what kind of came to me is oftentimes when I'm working with companies, what you see is that they really know the decision that they need to make, yet it's hard to make because it's a people issue, right? Nobody has ever any struggle making a change with a process issue or a system issue, right? Those are pretty hard and fast. But people issues are really challenging. And I see it as early as today, or as recent as today, during a checking call with a client. But as far back as, why do people want the EOS implementers to help facilitate, because we help facilitate those really challenging, difficult conversations that pretty much happen in every session.
That's exactly right. They certainly happen all the time. Is there anything that sticks out that became a real big challenge for you or a client that you guys were able to help navigate?
Yeah, similar to what you mentioned in the furniture industry is I've got a really large construction company that I'm working with, 19 offices, they're in 5 states, and they've just gotten hammered over COVID. It was supply chain issues. Then it became, having trouble getting lumber. Then mortgage interest rates went up, and so they're a home builder. Helping them navigate and really scale back because they've needed to. Their volume isn't there. Their volume is basically half of what it used to be. So we too have scaled back, scaled that accountability chart, and also worked on let's create better foundation. So now you're ready to scale back up, but scale up looking differently.
Right. It's absolutely true. You mentioned one of my favorite buzzwords, and I say it's a buzzword because it always, my mind, my body, a visceral reaction to the term accountability chart, because it's definitely my top 5 EOS tool, but it might be my top 2 or top 3. It's always the tool that I gravitate towards the most. I find it being the easiest way to discuss a people problem because I immediately look at it on the software platform, whatever we're using with the core responsibilities and roles. And it's very clear if someone's either not delivering on that need or they are. So, I prefer the accountability chart quite often as a tool. So,
I think it's a misdiagnosed tool, if I could use that term, right? People are like, it's just my org structure. And I'm like, it's so much more than your org structure. To your point, it's a great way to make decisions, all kinds of decisions, right? Do we have the right structure to grow? Oh, do we have the right people in the right seats? Yes. But also, how can we become more efficient using this accountability structure, right? Oh, therefore, more drops down to the bottom line for us. I mean, it's all of the things. Is the people issue, is the process issue. It's a great tool to use. Yeah. Scale up, scale down, many different facets.
That's right. That's exactly right. What do you think these are one of the things I always ask folks because it's a bit of a loaded question, but I also think that it's something worth chatting through. You've managed people your whole career, right? You've owned businesses, you've bought businesses, you've sold businesses, managed people every day. You deal with entrepreneurs that are managing people every day. Are there any common themes that you see or have seen when it comes to managing people, and sort of what are the key challenges or wisdom that you've taken away from all the things you've been involved in over the years?
I think it's a misnomer that people think that they can manage people. We can't manage That's people. Funny. We manage systems. We manage processes. We manage structure. We don't manage people, right? It's our job as leaders to actually create an environment where the outcome is accountability, right? And we do that through how we lead and how we manage. But it's so individual, right? You've got a group of people where you've got to give them autonomy without micromanaging. Create systems, processes around accountability. Also, core values leads into that, right? If you've got a company that has a core values of we're always going to grow or die, well, let's make sure that everybody's actually displaying that, which means that they should be growing in their seat.
That's exactly right.
I mean, all of this, again, goes together. And so stop thinking that managing people is what you need to do. Manage the process and the systems and have conversations with people and lead.
No, that's so true. I haven't ever thought of it that way. That now that you say it, it makes perfect sense because it's like, oh, we got to manage. It's like, I think for me, your system reference makes me think about just communicate. I think 90% of management, as we say, management problems come from a lack of communication, or frankly, sometimes over communicating. I think there's a time, that fine line of whether or not we're, sharing the vision and looking at the VTO and showing them what the goal is. It's easy to not communicate enough. It's also very easy to micromanage through communication. I had, this reminds me of a story where this is one of my favorite things, being a fractional integrator, we're in I've been in almost 20 different businesses as a fractional integrator, and I love it. But one of my favorite things to witness is when the visionary is on vacation. It's a great, great thing to see, because I've obviously established rapport with the leadership team, and I'm, facilitating L10s and doing one-on-ones and working on accountability chart, all the stuff, right? So when the visionary goes on vacation, the dynamic drastically changes. The boss is out, and what I see is that people aren't fielding needs from the visionary when he or she's out of town. They get to focus on what they need to focus on, and they're not being reactive or receiving a list of things to do. And I've seen it a few different times, not every time, because, visionaries have a totally different way of communicating and managing people. No two ways are the same. But in this particular instance, the leadership team was like, it's been kind of nice. We're not catching instant messages from everybody. We're not, reading notifications for to-dos. So I always do that interview, and I go back with the information, obviously, anonymized, so I'm not sharing what so-and-so said about so-and-so, but it's like, hey, the theme was that they didn't have to field a bunch of communications from you all week. So it was great. It was a good week. And then they immediately get upset. I'm like, no, don't get upset. What I'm telling you is your team can be effective with less communication. Let's focus on using the platform the way the platform's been used. We lean into 90.io. People use EOS 1, et cetera, et cetera. But focusing on not blowing people's email up and blowing up people's instant message or Slack or Teams message or whatever, when you have a fleeting thought or you need something immediately, rather process for a little bit. Think about if it's truly an issue that you need to discuss in that moment, or if it can be brought to the IDS session during the L10, and just letting people have their time and not over communicating with them. I don't know if you've come across some circumstances like that.
Oh, for sure. And even myself, right? I'm a classic visionary, right?
Yeah.
On these companies. And yes, I, Matt, need to practice taking a deep breath for the same thing, because I want to just bring all this stuff constantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so
time.
easy to vomit those needs. And I'm guilty too. So I'm not sitting here throwing stones, rather saying if we continue to say it out loud and realize that it's okay to not share something in the moment at that moment because it was the need that popped into our head, most times it'll help somebody on the other end.
Yeah. And I see the difference in companies that have a visionary sitting in the integrator seat versus companies that have clearly a visionary and an integrator, right?
Ooh, tell me about it.
Well, I mean, they really do get further faster because of what you just said, right? You don't have all that distraction. And that integrator really helps to buffer the visionary, not only from the rest of the team, but almost from themselves.
Yep, that's exactly right. I love it. The buffering from themselves. So in that scenario, that's funny. Let's pick on that for a second, because in that scenario, I find that a lot of these visionaries end up feeling like part of their identity has been taken away when the integrator shows up. Everyone wants this integrator. They want someone to come in and take over. But the reality is that when a competent, talented person steps into that seat, the chaos level drops drastically. And most visionaries that I've worked with enjoy operating in that chaotic level. They get the energy from it. They get endorphins, all of the other things that come from the shit show, as I say. If you've seen my website, my terminology is, if you're in the shit show or from the shit show, you know exactly what it means. You've been there. But when the integrator steps in and resolves some of that chaos, these visionaries tend to lose a little bit of identity and want to swirl and want to get back in. And I do a lot of coaching between visionaries and integrators, helping them understand what that dynamic is between each other, and allowing the visionary to so I repurpose and reframe that direction and say, Mr. or Miss Visionary, you should go focus on growth now. You've wanted to not deal with operations for so long. It's been this buzzword you've said. It's all you've bitched about. Now you're getting it. Go focus on growth. Fill up the IDS list. Work on that VTO. Let's come back and understand all the things that you want to do with this business, and let the integrator fact check them, pressure check them, get them to the list, see if there are things that want to, that's your job. That's your unique ability. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've come across anything like that, or have any examples where you've seen that unlock between the dynamic duo.
Yeah, for sure. I have a client who has just stepped out of the visionary integrator seat. He actually had an integrator, wasn't the right fit, stepped back in for a year and a half, sat in that seat again, both seats, visionary and integrator. He now has just stepped away at our last quarterly, has an integrator, and
Brought in a new integrator, so they had a false start.
yeah, they did have a false start. But to your point, he is struggling. It's the same exact thing that you just said. I mean, verbatim. I'm getting these check-in calls where he's like, "Are you really sure that the integrator can do this?" I'm like, "Yes, Randy, it'll be fine."
Yep, it will be fine. And I always think part of that and having the business, being able to hire integrators, and I'm working with a client right now who's hiring my replacement, which is so great to be able to say it. It's like my job is to hire my replacement. So when I'm doing that, I'm coming in and I'm interviewing, I'm onboarding, and I'm staying on as part of a transition period. And I will almost set up expectations that the integrator has a dedicated check-in. It's like I'm shielding them from the shit show, right? Because you got a visionary leader, you come in, the integrator's immediately trying to please and deliver and show value and do all the things that every new employee wants to do. But I'm able to sort of shelter them from it a little bit and say, hey, let's set up a cadence, let's set up a rhythm, and make sure that everyone knows what their seat is. And again, back to the accountability chart. Here are the core roles and responsibilities for each of you. Are we doing each of these? And facilitating that discussion allows for a smooth transition of power, as I say, letting the integrator take over and continue to run and figure out their own way, because they got to go meet every employee. They got to figure out who's doing what and not doing what. They've got to establish credibility. And if it's all under the wing and under the lens or through the lens of a visionary, it's going to be a drastically different dynamic. And I hate hearing those false starts that you referenced earlier, but it happens. It happens a lot. And we tend to come in sometimes after there's been a bad hire. And I love that it's always bad hire, right, Amy? I mean, it's like, oh, they're a bad hire. It's like, well, you effing hired them. So either you didn't do a good job validating or vetting them, or they weren't really a bad hire. You were the issue. And sometimes it's a mixture of both. Sometimes it's clearly one or the other, but it's like, they're a bad hire. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Or here's the other thing that I see is that they don't want to hire an integrator from the outside. They want to promote somebody, so to speak, from the inside. And I'm like, why? You think that you have a unique business and nobody knows your business? That's a fallacy too.
That's my favorite, Amy. You hit one of my favorite things is, and I always say this, oh, your business is different. And I don't say it to be like obnoxious, but I always tell people, I'm like, the same five operating departments are in every business. You've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got HR, you got finance, and there's but every business has those same core tenets. You might sell a different widget, Amy. You might have a construction company, or you might have a fly fishing business, but there's still those same core components are in each one of those businesses. And your business is different. I know. Well, what else do you have? Well, no, we still have all those. It's like, okay. And it's still people running those same tenets and same tendencies. And that's what's really cool about EOS is that there's, finding people that have overlap, but also just huge differences is a ton of fun. Well, I got a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up, but I'd love to know what you do outside of your EOS life, because it sounds like you're indoors and outdoors and traveling and doing a lot of things. So give us an example of some of the things that you like to do when you're not sitting with a whiteboard and a marker in your hand.
Yeah. So I'm definitely an avid outdoors person. So hike, bike. My husband and I are huge cyclists.
That's great.
So we're cycling across Vermont.
Very cool.
Which is really
You're
cool.
doing it right now, or you're about to start, or what's the story?
We're doing different legs. So we've done a couple of 32-mile legs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Which has been super fun.
And do you guys go from town to town?
Yes. Yeah.
That's fabulous. And road bike?
Trail bike. So road and or trail or gravel. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And what is this? Is this a public trail system through Vermont, or is this a...
It is. It's called the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. So Vermont converted 93 miles of an old rail system into a multi-use trail. and it's phenomenal.
That's
The countryside is
so
amazing. Amazing.
That's
So
fantastic.
that's a big passion. And of course, in the summer when I get to be at our house in Maine, I am paddleboarding and kayaking and picking fresh blueberries. And that's my ideal EOS life. I'm not looking to climb Mount Everest or any crazy thing like that. I just enjoy the outdoors as much as I possibly can.
That's so fantastic. And I have taken a note to look up Lamoille because
good.
I love those things. Rail trails are fabulous. We lived in the mountains of Utah for a while, and I love the converted rail trails because they're wide and there's plenty of space, and generally they're compacted and similar consistency that they're maintained. That's really special. And you do it with your husband. You did mention before the call, shout out to you guys, 41 years of marriage. That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a true testament to work and commitment. My wife and I are almost on we're not almost, we're on year 18. And
nice.
I feel like it's hard to say it out loud, but 18 years of marriage is, it's been fabulous and challenging and rewarding, and continuing the commitment it takes work, Amy. It's not easy.
It does. It does. I know. But here's what I say. The grass is greenest where you water it.
That's amazing. That's well said. That's very well said. Wise thoughts. Well, anything else you want to let everyone know about challenges or trials or tribulations you've seen, or any parting words of wisdom you'd love to share?
Like marriage, business is a struggle, right? We hit ceilings, we get chaotic, we lose focus, we lose determination, sometimes we lose motivation. Don't get discouraged, right? There's so many people. Matt can help you, I can help you. It's your biggest asset in your portfolio most of the time. So let's knock it out of the park.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very well said. And I'll add to that with, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to operating businesses. There are so many ups and downs, and people are challenging, but also incredibly rewarding. I always tell folks, focus on being a leader and focus on being someone that people want to work for and work with and work next to and work alongside, and be humble and curious.
Yeah, for sure.
Amy Morin, thank you so much for joining us in Scalability Code. It's been wonderful to get to know you, and I look forward to continuing our EOS journey together, and hope that you'll come back and join us soon.
I will. Thank you, Matt. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Scalability Code. If you made it this far, please follow the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get out of the show together. We'll see you next time on the Scalability Code.